I've got some big news to share with you today. I have received an offer on the marital home. So today I'm going to share all the details with you, what price I finally settled on, and I'm also going to answer some of your questions and address some of your concerns that you shared in my video 2 videos ago where I was asking, do you think that I should buy a house before I've sold my home? And you might be thinking that this isn't relevant anymore, that because I've got an offer on the marital home, that means that I will be putting the next house into the chain, and when the funds are released from the marital home, then they will be transferred immediately to the new house. But this still isn't what I'm planning to do. So your answers and your concerns were very helpful in the video that I shared, saying, should I separate these 2 houses? Because I'm still planning on doing it, and I'm going to tell you why I'm still planning on doing it. My name is Catherine from Freedom Kitty, and I set up this channel to document my journey towards early retirement. I hope to retire in 6 years at the age of 53, starting with no savings, no investments, no pension. And before you say this isn't possible, the equity in the house is what's going to make it possible. The downsizing to a much more affordable property will release those funds, which I will put into investments. And if you want to know more about how I'm planning to do it, I break down every single number, my entire plan, in one of my other videos. It's got the highest number of views, so you should be able to find it easily. At the end, I'm going to tell you what I sold the house for and what this means for my retirement plan. But before that, I'm going to explain to you why I'm still planning to separate the purchase of a new house from the sale of the old house. And the main reason is because it's extremely stressful buying and selling on the same day. You don't get any time to prepare your new house. You don't get time to set up your internet, get your furniture sorted, clean the house before you move in. And we also wanted to get moved in much more quickly. We thought that if we separate the buying from the selling, the buying process will go through faster than the selling process. We also want to do it because we can do it. And the reason why I can do it is because my name is not on the deeds of the house, of the marital house. Only my ex-husband's name is on the deeds. I also don't have a mortgage currently. It's only my ex-husband who has the mortgage, so that enables me to actually do this. And I'm so grateful that I am able to do this. And the timing of this was actually so funny, because I recorded that video and I scheduled it about 1 week in advance. But at the time that I recorded the video, I had not received an offer on the marital home. The marital home had been on the market for 5 months. We dropped the price recently and we still didn't have any new viewings, there was no increase of interest because we dropped the price. So this made me kind of lose hope that the marital home was going to sell quickly. And we have been desperate to move for a very long time now. We've been stuck in the marital home for 2 years and we all just want a fresh start. We're far away from the school. The kids have to be driven to school and picked up every day, and we wanted to be close to school. And it's so funny, the timing of this, because I'm a big believer of when you take the leap, the net appears. I believe that when you say in your mind that you are determined that you are going to do something, the path becomes clear. People think that I'm too optimistic on this channel, and somebody actually described me as financially bonkers. And I probably am a little bit of a risk taker. I'm nowhere near as bad as I used to be when I was younger, but I suppose I still do gravitate towards a certain amount of risk. Even though it causes me a lot of stress sometimes, I still feel like I want to push myself and be adventurous and really be optimistic and hope for the best. So it's so funny, when I decided to do this and I committed to doing this and I recorded that video, it was less than a week before we received the offer on the marital home, and I was absolutely over the moon. And then by the time I published the video about should I have 2 homes at the same time, somebody had actually found my house on Rightmove and they'd seen that it was sold subject to contract and they posted that comment. But I don't know about you, but I find that life works in mysterious ways. When you decide to do something, suddenly luck is on your side. It's like you were supposed to be doing it, like you were guided towards it. And I'm a big believer of I just do what I feel compelled to do in life because I just can't do anything else. And this is another example of this. So let's address some of the concerns that you had when I shared that I was planning on having 2 houses on the go, which is still the case. So a lot of people were saying, what about stamp duty? And the houses that I'm looking for, they're so cheap. You don't even have to pay any stamp duty on them. So that's pretty good. A lot of people were saying, what about capital gains tax? Because it might be a second home. Well, I looked into this, and technically it's not a second home for me because my name's not on the deeds, I don't have a mortgage, so it's not my house basically. I'm living in the marital house, but it's not a house that I technically own, so I don't have to worry about that. A lot of people said, what about council tax? This is a legitimate worry. But what happens is, if the house is unfurnished, where I live, you get 6 months where you don't have to pay any council tax at all. And then for the next 6 months, it goes back to normal council tax. So I think that's going to be fine as well. Even if there's a little bit of overlap, hopefully it'll be okay. I don't want it to take longer than a year because that's when it gets really ridiculous and then the council tax doubles. So we definitely don't want that. A lot of people said, what about insurance? Well, as part of the mortgage agreement that my ex has, he has the buildings insurance, so that's in his name. And then some people expressed concerns about my new purchase. They were saying things like, how can you protect yourself legally? Are you even putting any money down towards the deposit? Well, here's the good thing. As part of my divorce legal agreement, I asked for £10,000 to be transferred upon an offer being made. So I didn't think I was going to have that £10,000, but now that an offer has been made, I have received the £10,000, which is fantastic. So now I can contribute towards the deposit on the new house by £10,000. So I am putting some money down. Also, when you go through your solicitors, they ask you, do you want to be joint tenants or tenants in common? When you're joint tenants, this is like for married couples who both have the same children together, and that means that you both own 100% of the house. But there's another option, which is tenants in common, and that's what we're going through. And that means that each person owns 50% of the house. So that's what we're having. And that makes sense when it's a blended family and there's children from another marriage in the house, because that person wouldn't be responsible for those children. Also, there is a legal agreement in place on the marital home so that when it sells, the solicitor will divvy up the money between me and my ex. And the solicitor has that legal agreement. They've seen it. They are in agreement with it and they know what they're going to do and that they're transferring the two amounts separately. So that's all locked in, so I don't need to worry about that money either. And yes, we both will be on the deeds when we buy the new house, me and my new partner. Somebody expressed concern that I would be dependent on my new partner, but these are the risks that you have to take in life. When you decide that you want to move in with somebody, you have to take that risk. You have to be able to trust them. If you don't trust them, then you shouldn't be doing it. And I'm not going to be one of these people who just puts my life on hold just in case the worst happens. I'm the opposite of that kind of person. And if the worst comes to the worst, there's always the marital home. And then when that sells, I'll have the money. I could always move back in with my parents if things go wrong. So it's not a complete disaster. So now let me tell you about how the offer came in and what we received. So originally the house was put on the market for $365,000. I thought that was pretty optimistic at the time, but I thought people might knock me down, so I wanted to go in a little bit higher than what I expected to receive. A lot of the estate agents valued the house at around $350,000, so that's what I thought we would get. Then the house had been on the market for 5 months and we hadn't had an offer and no serious interest. So the estate agent recommended we drop it by 2% to trigger Rightmove and push it back up to the top and trigger people's alerts again. So we dropped it by 2%. That put it down to $357,000 and we didn't receive any interest. But funnily enough, the last person who viewed it, which we didn't think would ever be in a position to make an offer because his house hadn't received an offer yet and he wasn't even sure if he wanted a townhouse, so it didn't sound like he was interested. He received an offer on his house and then he decided that he was going to put in an offer. But he put in a very low offer. He put in an offer at $320,000. But I was still really excited because it sounded like he was up for negotiation. So we negotiated all afternoon, all evening, right up until 10:30 at night. And my estate agent was an angel. She was working all evening, putting these offers back and forwards between us and the buyer. And we negotiated all evening long. I was actually shopping in Asda with my partner and my 2 kids. And I was trying to text my ex and say, we've received another offer from the estate agent. What do you think? Should we go in with this? Should we go in with that? Emailing the estate agent with our new offer, getting in the email, having to make decisions. So I was going around Asda with my phone in my hand, making some major financial decisions at the same time as everybody was trying to talk to me all at once saying, can I make this recipe? Can I make muffins? Have you got flour? Have you got eggs? Have you got sugar in the house? Do you have this? Should I have this? Should I buy this? Should I buy that? And it was driving me insane. But eventually at 10:30, he finally came back and we all agreed on the final price, which was 340,000. So I pretty much took a hit of 10 grand under what I expected to get, but I was just desperate to sell the house. And in this current market, all of the prices are going down, including the houses that we're looking at to buy. So we just wanted rid of it. We're happy to take the 10 grand hit. And yes, this might mean that my retirement fund is down by 10 grand, but it's worth it to just get the ball moving, because I can't even start saving for my retirement until this house is sold. So it just has to go. And you might be wondering how I knew how much I needed to sell the house for and what price my next house needed to be able to hit my early retirement figures. So to calculate that, I have developed a property calculator for myself. So this is how it works. So you put in at the top the house selling price. So I had various scenarios on the house selling price. This is what I started pricing the house at. It went on for 365. And then I went down to 340, but I could have had way more scenarios than this. And then underneath this, I put the existing mortgage, my ex's mortgage, that would have had to be taken off the price. I put the solicitor's selling fees that calculated based on the agreement, the quote that I was given from the solicitor. Then there's the estate agent fees, which are a percentage of the sale price. Then that gets totaled up there. Then we've got the house selling price less the fees. So that is the total that's left to be divvied up between me and my ex. And then this is my ex's share, because he gets to keep his massive big pension. And he's actually come out of this with more than 50%. It was supposed to be 50-50, but because I dropped the price 10 grand and it's already been written legally, he's actually got a better deal out of the divorce. So before people start commenting that this is why we don't get married, lads, and all these kind of comments that I get, I am left with the kids as a single parent to support the kids on my own, while he has moved hundreds of miles away, so he cannot help with any of the day-to-day help with the kids whatsoever. The woman who's left with the kids should get more than 50%, but I have ended up getting less. But I am still extremely grateful, because what I have been left with is cash. I didn't want the pension because I can't use the pension. I can't house the children with a pension. I needed to be able to house the kids. So I'm so grateful that this was the agreement that we came to, so that I could buy a house, because the kids need a roof over their head, basically. So this was my share, 83%. It looks like I've got a great deal, but I just wanted to let you know that it's not as good as you thought, but I'm still extremely grateful for this. Also calculated in this extra 22,000 in cash, of which I have currently received 10 grand of it. So this is the subtotal that I would be receiving if I was to sell the house for 365,000. And then underneath this, we've got the buying fees. So solicitors' fees for buying a house actually more expensive than the selling, which I didn't realize until I looked into it. 1,500. I'm paying a mortgage broker just to get the application done properly, and she's been amazing with helping speed things up so far. I've calculated in 1,000 for the removal cost, but yet we're not sure whether we are going to use this or not. We don't know if we might actually do it ourselves, because if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll see that I have done a humongous declutter. Every time I used to move with my ex, he had the entire loft completely floored, wall to ceiling boxes, and he was a complete hoarder. So we used to have the most humongous removal van I've ever seen in my life. But since I have done a massive declutter of the loft, I've hardly got anything up there now. I've also done a humongous declutter of the house. I feel like I'm very minimalistic now, so I feel like we could do this ourselves, potentially. I'm thinking about it. Then we've got the survey. I've put in up to 1,500, not yet sure about what I will pay towards a survey, but I have put a subtotal and put half of that allocated to me, half of it allocated to my new partner. Then we've got the house buying price, and you can change the house price whatever you want it to be. I have played around with numerous different house buying prices depending on what I've seen on Rightmove. I've gone down to 160, I've gone up to 250 just to see what I'm left with and what makes sense. But in the end, I was happy to look for anything under 180 because this is what my calculator told me was the best price. And there was actually houses around this price, so it made sense. Also, now we've got who's going to pay for the house. So we're going to get a small mortgage. The mortgage is going to pay for about 60,000. My partner's going to pay about 60,000 and I'm going to pay about 60,000. So equally split between the three of us. And the total to be allocated is 0 because I've allocated all of the money of the house price up here. And I've put in a calculation, is there stamp duty due? And thankfully, because it's under, let's see, I've got this little guide here. The stamp duty starts at 230, then you have to pay 300. If you go up to 240, it's 900, and it increases rapidly from there. But thankfully, because the houses I'm looking at are all under 230, then I don't have to pay stamp duty, which is fantastic. So when you take this off my mortgage, my contribution to the deposit of the house, then I would be left with 120,000. And now I've got this category under here for further spending. As soon as I sell the house, I really want to buy a camper van. It's been my lifelong dream. I hired one last year. I absolutely fell in love with that, fell in love with the lifestyle. It'll just be amazing. It'll be holidays, it'll be fun, it will be an extra bedroom, it will solve problems. It's just everything I've always dreamed of. So I want to buy a camper van. So I've allocated 10,000 towards that. I've allocated 6,500 towards home improvements. Some of the houses we've looked at have been a bit more run down, like 160,000, needs a lot of work doing to it. So I've played around with upping this figure as well. But ideally, we don't really want to be doing a big project because we need to just move the kids in and there's nowhere to really move them to when the house is covered in dust and is a building site. So it really needs to be habitable. So we can't really have that much work that needs doing to the house. Maybe the odd little bit of improvement, but not major projects. Then I want to save money in the bank for home emergencies. I don't want to be owning a house and not have any money in the bank because this will be really stressful. So this would be the amount that I have left to invest, which would have been 94,000 had the house sold for the original price of 365,000. But if you've watched any of my other videos, then you know that what I would like to allocate to my investments is 80,000. So 80,000, but as I've told you, the house has been offered at 340,000. So if we were to buy a house for 180,000, that would only leave me 74,000. But if we were to buy a house for 160,000, we don't need to contribute quite so much to the deposit. So we could reduce this down to, say, 50,000 each. 50,000, not 500,000. No money to allocate. So if we got a house for 160,000, I'd actually have 84,000 to invest. So that would be a much better price. So I would love to get a house for 160,000. That would be the ultimate situation. Would be, yes, we've dropped 10 grand in price, but originally I was looking at houses at 180, but we've seen a few at 160,000. So if we do get one of those, I'd actually be better off than I thought. I'd have more money to put into investments than I thought I did. So that would be the ideal situation, and I will let you know what happens in the future with our house buying price. And I have another major update to share with you on the next video, but this is all I've got time for right now because things are pretty hectic and crazy at the moment. Go and check out some of my other videos, and thank you so much for subscribing. Please leave a comment down below, let me know your thoughts, and have an amazing week.